And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host, Dan, aka smAsho. We are starting things out today looking at the sun in 94 angstroms. We see an active region rising in the northeast. It's emitted a little bit of X-rays, nothing resembling a B-class flare, just a high-level A-class flare. You can see a little bit of brightening in this area right here toward the end of the 48-hour video that we're showing. Right there. So two little flares kicking off, actually once again as we did show prep. I'll let that play through a second time for you. And there you see this small brightening right there of that active region rising in the northeast. We are streaming live to Twitch, by the way. If you haven't subscribed over there, check us out at twitch.tv/smAsho. If something really important happens, we will tend to stream there first. Now, yesterday we saw a sun-diving comet. It turns out there were actually two sun-diving comets. Perhaps it broke up early as they took almost the exact same vector. And you can see them right in this area right here. And they're appearing on the LASCO C2, and it looks like they have disintegrated in the local area around the sun. And here's the view from the C2, and you can see there's one and then two, following the exact same vector right in this area. A great view of some sun-diving cometary behavior. Wasn't expecting it, but if you don't look, you won't see. Next, looking at a 48-hour SDO video here of 304 angstroms, which is the UV emission spectra of ionized helium. I'll let that play through a second time before we move on to lots more stuff, and there's plenty of stuff to cover today. It should be another interesting episode of the Daily Space Weather, and thanks everybody who tuned in, whether you viewed it live or you viewed it in syndication. Here are the fields, and you can see this looping over here associated with that active region. Is it a sunspot? Well, we don't know yet. We can't see the fields yet. It looks like there's a significant reduction of fields in this area. Anyway, here's a 304 angstroms view, and I would note this large plasma filament suspended down here that just happened recently. Here's the fade. And that brings us to our next video. It's a 24-hour video from HelioViewer, and you can see that large filament down there in the southeast getting suspended, as well as sunspot 2765 setting over on the right side of the screen in the southwest. Here's the north polar region, as well as that active region rising there on the left of your screen. A little bit of crown prominence style activity happening up there around the North Pole. Nothing to write home about. KP index is at 1. Nothing too exciting there. 10.7 centimeter radial flux is at 69. And by the way, this is going to be discontinued on July 1st. It's going to look more like this. And you can actually zoom it in a little bit if you want to, or zoom it out to show the forecast for cycle 25. At least NASA NOAA's forecast. There's kind of the zoomed in view. And what are you doing with your last 3 days before summer kicks in? What will you be up to? Will you be joining us for the solstice stream? It'll be starting at about 5:15 Eastern Daylight Time. So join us for that. We will feature call-ins on the smAsho VoIP line. And the smAsho VoIP line is 610-936-9799, country code +1, area code 610-936-9799. Yeah, that's a lot of nines. And let's talk cosmology for a quick moment, as we don't do it every day. And I'm not the most interesting man in the world, but when I do talk cosmology, I drink Dos Equis. I don't really drink Dos Equis when I talk cosmology. I'm just joking. Now we've got 65 videos in our Cosmology Segments playlist here on YouTube. So check that out if you haven't checked it out yet. Here's a clip. And this one is going to include vagina-scented candles. Were you not aware? Well, goop.
Fully out of luck.
You didn't know about goop? Well, apparently that candle smells like Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina. I don't know why that would entice anybody to buy it. Here's a clip.
Apparently, while talking with some scentologists, she thought it smelled like a vagina, so they decided to call it that because they thought it would be cute.
Great idea, dudes. So yeah, we included information about goop in a cosmology segment, and let's talk about timing coronal mass ejections and so on. But first, let me check the chat. And if you are having a question or comment, please leave one in the chat. Let's talk about limb darkening. Now, there are various ways to tell if there's a coronal mass ejection headed toward the Earth, the best of which is Stereo A's coronagraph, followed by the LASCO C2 and C3 coronagraphs, which were showing, this blue here, this is the LASCO C3, part of the SOHO suite, the Solar Heliospherics Observatory. And one of the things that we notice is that solar wind varies from about 300 kilometers per second to 3,500 kilometers per second. I mean, sometimes they're as low as 100 kilometers a second, but typically more like 300 to 3,500 kilometers a second. And one of the ways that we notice coronal mass ejections is by limb darkening. So this is a thing that you'll hear us talking about regularly on the channel, and that is because when the plasma gets in between views of the sun and the Earth, it actually appears more dark. This is one of the many problems with solar irradiance as a real measure of solar activity, because often limb darkening is an indication of increased solar activity, not decreased. So for instance, if there's a giant cloud of plasma in between you and the sun, it's going to darken that area of the sun, especially at the onset of the coronal mass ejection. And here's an article about it in SciTech Daily. It's one of the many ways we try to calculate coronal mass ejections and determine where they're headed. Next, let's look at a star chart. Actually, a planet chart. And there's where things are right now. There's where things will be on the 24th, 7 days from now. As the Earth swings into the Jupiter and Saturn zone, you should have a great view of them if you get up before dawn, and also Venus. Don't miss Venus rising before the sun if you've got a low horizon, and a view of the ecliptic. And again, you should be able to see Jupiter and Saturn and Mars and Venus all at once. It's quite exciting. And there are those two little flares that I was telling you about. Not even B class, but it looks like there's some activity rising on the northeast, and for that we thank you. Next, looking at the GOES proton flux to see that it's flatline, no surprise there. Let's look at the real-time solar wind. And we just saw a dip in the solar wind density here apparently, and a big shift in the phi angle. So current phi angle around 150 degrees, current solar wind density down to 2.87 protons per cubic centimeter, and the solar wind speed dropped off yesterday around 4:20 universal time. Current solar wind speed 337 kilometers a second. Next, looking at geospace magnetosphere movies, we're going to look at the density for once, and you'll see it drop off here toward the end of the movie. That's the low. It refreshed. Here comes the low density solar wind. You'll see it shown in lighter colors coming in from the left. And there you see that lower density solar wind. Low density shown in white, high density shown in dark blue on this pane. And there is the pressure. That's 4 hours of data. Please don't annoyingly refresh again. I would note the size of the plasma spheres, which are these empty looking areas out here. Very large. And we still see a quite low electron flux levels and a pretty weak magnetosphere for sure. Next, ground magnetic perturbations, and we're not going to see a lot of them during this geomagnetic excursion. And we gather 4 hours of data from each of these sources each day on the daily space weather videos. If you want to see what happened on a previous date, go watch some of our previous videos. We've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of daily space weather videos. Now here are the sawtooth patterns that I forecasted yesterday about the GOES magnetometer, and it has to do with the data on the gong too. Not exactly sure which polarity current sheet we're in right now, but we'll see if we can figure it out for you in the next pane. And by the way, not to brag, but forecasting the magnetic environment is not easy. Next, looking at the gong 2 data, this is the top view ecliptic plane field plot, as if you're looking down from the sun's north pole. By the way, for your new viewers, this is stereo A out here, and this is stereo B out here. Stereo A is called stereo A because it's able to see solar activity before the Earth does. It's all about where the activity rises and sets. So you can see the sun is a little bit indecisive about which polarity the Earth is in right now. Let's bring up the last pane. And it's currently showing us connected to neither current sheet. Probably an indication, let's see, that we will end up in the South Pole current sheet would be my guess. And it has to do with that activity that's rising on the eastern limb. Keep in mind this data is roughly 2 hours old. And here's the line of sight field plot, which shows the B field, which is the interplanetary magnetic field in blue. And that field is a result of the solar polar north field and the solar polar south field overlapping and tugging on each other. So yeah, there is a bit of activity there in the northeast, something to keep an eye on throughout the day. Electron flux still quite low there. You can see that downward trend over the past 10 months for the relativistic electrons. Here's the 3-day GOES electron flux, and once again it did rise a little bit higher here than it had been, so we could be moving into a mode to see electron flux warning levels here. I would actually expect it as the sun has moved back into a low state of activity with a low density and low speed solar wind. Here's the total air column here, the total electron content. Again, very low levels of electron flux here. Expect your satellites to be working pretty well, and we see a little bit of anomaly there over the Caribbean and Mexico. Next, looking at just the ionosphere layer, and it's quite anomalous here. It's very discharged on the sun side, which is around here. And let's bring up the last image and move on, as there's quite a bit of stuff to cover. I'm going to have to do a critique of a YouTube video in a minute. Anyway, there's the latest image, and you can see a very, very discharged sun side here, only making it to 7 megahertz frequency there in the ionosphere. Next, looking at earthquakes, and we see a bunch of deep earthquakes, starting out with this 5.0 deep quake at Afghanistan at 230 kilometers depth. If that happened at the surface, that would be more like a 6 magnitude quake. And let's scroll up the list. That might be the largest of the past 24. I think there might be one larger. Here's a 5.4, a rare quake at Egypt. 5.4 magnitude quake there. And here's a very deep quake at Japan. It's a 4.4 magnitude at over 300 kilometers depth. So we see a bunch of deep quakes happening. Here's a deep quake in Dominica. A deep quake in western South America there, near the Atacama Desert, a 4.8 magnitude at 111 kilometers depth. Small deep quake at Alaska. Oh, there's the largest of the past 24. It's a 5.6 at Tonga. That one came in just about when I got out of bed at 6:24 UT. And don't make me do math. Now, the volcano list, we see a bunch of new volcanoes showing up on the list, such as Grimsvötn at Iceland. One of Iceland's most active volcanoes might be getting ready for a new eruption, as there's a very high output of sulfur dioxide indicating magma just below the surface. Also, Reykjanes has inflated 12 centimeters since January. And there's an earthquake swarm also. The largest was a 3.5 magnitude occurring on the 13th of this month. Volcanoes also exploding, flight level 7,000 there. Popocatépetl exploding, flight level 23,000 there. Pacaya back on the list with some lava flows and glowing spatter. But no big ash plume there. Fuego has dispersed the ash, dissipated. Revenador exploding, flight level 15,000 there, and Sabancaya back to exploding, flight level 20,000 there. Please do not attempt to do a cartwheel across the caldera. Let's talk about another SHARTICLE. And Phys.org's Earth section is so rife with SHARTICLEs that once again we're featuring Phys.org. Oh yeah, check this out. Here's a quote for you. Here's an indication that somebody's illiterate. Check it out. They started out a sentence with the word and. Well done. Oh, just brilliant. And the changes at the end Permian extinction bear remarkable parallels to what is happening on Earth today, including burning hydrocarbons and coal, acid rain from sulfur, and even ozone-destroying hydrocarbons. You think they might be exaggerating a little bit? Do you think these guys are enjoying their vacation to Siberia? Wow. Yeah. Turns out, the theory is, because of the way carbon dioxide allegedly affects the atmosphere, that coal burning in Siberia led to climate change 250 million years ago. And I have nothing to say. It's one of the largest extinction events in the history of the world, which killed up to 96% of all marine species and 70% of all terrestrial vertebrate species. Apparently it's because of carbon dioxide. And if you find yourself locked down, check out smashomash.com/forum perhaps. And thanks to Amhotep, Atmanotep, who's been posting some predictions. He's put up a new thread here, date-stamped prediction center. So if you'd like to make predictions, make a login at smashomash.com/forum, head to the free-for-all forum, and click on the date-stamped prediction center. Atmanotep's prediction is Biden will be removed from running in August and be replaced by a consensus candidate, most likely Hillary Clinton. Now me. Biden will lose in a landslide since he can't compose a coherent sentence, much like Barack Obama, off teleprompter. Big tech will regret their meddling through 2 U.S. election cycles. Front office executives will see jail cells. Sundar Pichai, Larry Page, Sergey Brin, and Eric Schmidt will hide their assets in Seychelles. Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube will become real platforms instead of utterly biased publishers. The U.S. economy will continue to make the rest look like laughingstocks. Inflation of U.S. dollar will rise to 10%, and that will be significantly better than other fiat junk currencies like euros, yen, and yuan. Russia and China will continue to expose themselves as all but powerless figureheads, as opposed to real geopolitical figures. Who else has got ideas? Leave a comment. Have you been watching Jim Gaffigan's YouTube channel? Have you been watching our Instagram channel? Check it out. I've created a video about a cloud caused by fission, nuclear fission. You may not see such things if you don't follow me on Instagram. There's a giant steam plume caused by Berwick's fission reactor. Now, if you haven't seen this, check this out. Jim Gaffigan. Hilarious.
All right, here's a consumer tip. Are you subscribed to Jim Gaffigan's YouTube page? These are Jim Gaffigan's kids. And look at that. Hot Pockets. Hot Pockets. And what this kid is talking about right now is he wishes that there was a burger in a can.
Well, I got news for you, folks. There is a burger in a can. And here there's a channel called Ashens here on YouTube, which does not need your help. Go over there and subscribe if you like. He probably doesn't really care since he's got 1.47 million subscribers. So Ashens, he likes to review some weird stuff, and check out the trekking burger. Here's a clip.
Pre-cooked burger in a tin.
Did you?
Yeah, it's a pre-cooked burger in a tin, and yeah, there's a bun in there, and yeah, the bun is not hermetically sealed. Here's what this thing looks like when it comes out. Good God. Putting a piece of bread inside of a can with a cooked burger is pure evil.
How is it? Is it actually in date and everything now?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's pretty.
Yeah, so I sent a detailed message to this video urging Jim Gaffigan and the kids to do a review of the trekking burger if they can find one. Check out Ashens' review of the trekking burger. Somehow I don't think it got very good reviews. Let's see what happens when he tastes it.
You're always good value, Dan.
I'm so sorry.
Anyway, without playing any more of his content, he's got some interesting videos over there at Ashens. Let's talk about an uninteresting video from Gina Maria Colvin Hill. Check this out. You want to see some BS? Huh. Let me tease you. We're about to show you some BS. It'll be a indication of signed and sout. And you are about to travel into the twilight zone of somebody named Gina. Check it out.
I want to show you this short video. It's like 1 second. It was a live photo, and I was taking pictures of these ships.
She was taking photos of these ships. You see these ships here? Now, people who are not out of their minds would call these cumulus clouds, but Gina here seems to call them ships. Let's play another clip.
Right here in the sky. These right here are ships, and they have beings in them.
There are ships and they have beings in them. Now, I don't know why you wouldn't believe that those clouds aren't ships that have beings in them. What else you got to say, Gina?
All kinds of beings.
All kinds of beings, but she thinks just one species. Okay.
But, I was taking a photo.
She was taking a photo, and when she says photo, she means video.
Today.
By the way, this channel has over 30,000 subscribers, and last I checked, this video has 11,000 views. 11,000 views.
Right here.
Take it away, Gina.
And this is the live photo.
Oh my gosh,
So
the
you
live
see that?
photo.
Let's watch it again.
Oh my gosh, look at the live photo. A bunch of grackles flew through, like 6 or 7 grackles.
Looks like a normal flock of birds. Just like that.
I don't know what kind of drugs this woman is taking, but give me 3. Because maybe it'll make this video
You can
bearable to
drag it.
watch. Let's fast forward to her analysis. Apparently the beings in these clouds are projecting these birds. They're not even really birds. And this one has a spaceship inside of it. Because, you know, there's nothing like... If you were an alien and you were looking like a cloud, why would you not project an image of some birds with a spaceship inside of them? Boy, that makes perfect sense. Take it away once again, Gina.
It really is. Let's see. Boom, yeah. Boom, and see, you can see it again. The face.
Oh my gosh, boom, yeah, boom. Yeah, it's not just the flat black contrast.
But it is.
It's totally not the flat black contrast of your pixelated image of a bird or
Right
anything.
there.
It's got to be an extraterrestrial projecting an image of a
This is,
bird.
just
Well
a
done,
shape.
Gina. Wow. Perhaps drop us a line for an interview, Gina. We're very interested in your theories about
Okay,
aliens and birds.
Yeah, I mean, this may not be for everybody.
It may not be for everybody. Please keep an open mind, or perhaps slam your mind shut like a steel trap on this nonsense. Leave her a comment. I know I left a comment yesterday. It wasn't particularly flattering because Gina Maria Colvin Hill is mentally handicapped. Let's talk about trending on Twitter. By the way, we are on Twitter if you didn't know. Trending on Twitter is hashtag World War III. Oh my gosh. It's World War III, folks. Stop the presses. Oh no. It's holy cripes. It's World War III. Oh no. Here's some women in evening gowns riding on a armored vehicle down the street. Must be World War III. Oh, child conscription is kicked back in. Oh my gosh. Oh. Anyway, World War III is trending on Twitter because reasons, and I'm just at a loss. Let's get to value-added services. Check out the frost advisories all over Nevada. Check it out, frost advisories, as well as, what is this, in Idaho and Montana, winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings. We're less than 4 days from summertime, and it's still snowing. Boy, oh boy, it must be so hot that it's cold, folks. Just 2 years of 2 standard deviations above normal snowfall must be an indication that your CO2 emissions are making the planet really hot, aren't they? Wow, maybe all the heat is just in the southern hemisphere. Maybe it's all hiding in the southern hemisphere. Wow, it's so hot that it's cold. Geez, stop the presses. It's World War III. OMG, a pandemic. Oh no. And don't forget to post a black square, because you'll be curing racism that way. Well done, humans. Well done. Great response to nature. Brilliant. Here are the jet streams of the Western world. And they're all over the place. I mean, I would note right here, we see the jet stream blowing east to west. And that's, look at how incoherent the jet stream is in the northern hemisphere. That is a busted jet stream if I ever saw one. Next, looking at the eastern world's jets. There's the east. And look at the bends in the southern hemisphere. Check it out. Very, very incoherent jet stream. Let's look at the 10 hectopascals images. And there you can see those counter-rotating regions in the ultra-high pressure winds. And there's what's going on in the north as we approach summertime, or down here, wintertime. And let's get back to flight level 25,000 and move on to look at the pressure cells right now on windy.com. It's my favorite to look at pressure cells. We're going to let it advance into the GFS forecast till about 12 noon tomorrow my time. I'm located in the Lehigh Valley, if you're wondering, thanks to all of our new viewers. Thanks to YouTube for remonetizing yesterday's video, which was demonetized before it was even put up. There's where we expect pressure cells to be at 1 p.m. my time here in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Next, looking at water vapor maps for Africa and Europe. Some significant dry air there. Water vapor maps for Oceania and the Far East. Lightning maps at lightningmaps.org. Do we see terrestrial lightning in the U.S.? I don't think so. Anyway, there's where lightning strikes are registering now. Some coming in as we do the video over the North Atlantic. Next, looking at the Doppler radar map for the U.S. Some severe thunderstorms in North Dakota, as well as around the Great Salt Lake. And let's take a look at a water vapor map here. There's what's going on in the water vapor scenario. And this stagnating upper level low here is just continuing to rotate around the Tennessee-North Carolina border. And let's take a look at these convergence zones over central Colorado. As we see some great Hall current lines there. You can see once again the water vapor is moving this way, and the Hall current streamers are perpendicular to that. Another indication of the Hall effect. We've been covering it on the channel for quite a while, and it's largely falling on deaf ears, but that's okay, because we don't require we don't require you to understand reality. Thanks, Smash Team, for sharing the content, etc. as we toil in anonymity. And please don't forget to share on your social media, press like, subscribe, leave a comment, etc. Thanks to our patrons, the real source of funding for the content, as YouTube tries its best to pay us nothing, and channels like Gina Maria Colvin, whatever her name is, has 30,000 subs and 12,000 views on that video from like 2 days ago about spaceships inside of birds. So thanks to our patrons providing actual incentive for us to put out videos with actual information in them. We're also on Subscribestar. Please support the channel via the links below the video if you're willing and able, as we close out things with 3 bonus features, such as this, the intensity gram of the sun, to show you no sunspots. Here's the magnetogram. It's colorized. And this area up in the northeast is quite odd looking. It's got very significant magnetic polarity. Let me zoom out just a little bit here. And you can see the way we've got a ton of South Pole magnetism here and a bunch of North Pole magnetism here. It's a bit of an oddity there, so that's something to keep an eye on throughout the day. Again, that active region rising is interesting. Let's look at 131 angstroms in terms of a 48-hour SDO video before we close things out and I vanish. Let's take a look at the chat. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Remember to stare at the sun. Use the proper instruments like the SDO. Don't naked eye it or look at the sun through a telescope unless you have a real solar filter. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Check out smashomash.com/forum. Set up a login. Give us a post. Whatever you want to talk about, whether it's in the Cosmology Forum or the Earth Geophysics Forum or perhaps the Heliophysics Forum. We appreciate your input. And we are out. We'll be coming up with more content soon. Thanks one last time to all of our donors especially. And may that solar wind be at your back and that covidiocy absent from your planet.